Imagine any woke college student today surviving in that daily struggle for long, and yet despite the many historical instances that warn against it, there remains a class of people that just can't seem to wake up to this fact that's staring them right in the face from history. A poll back in 2020 found that 18% of Gen Z and 13% of millennials think communism is a more fair system than capitalism and deserves to be considered in America. That's the class of people that this Romanian immigrant is trying to wake up, and it's time that they might listen.
Why do you hate communism? Why? Because of the suffering that your family went through?
So obviously I was only 1 year old when communism ended in Romania, so I can't really speak from previous experience, but I have yet to meet anybody in my home country that was in favor of communism. So let me put it this way. When they came in power, they seized all private property. FYI. And after that, you had punch card guys to get bread.
Yes.
And you would be rationed based on the size of your family. No meat, no eggs, no stuff like that. And like I said, nobody's in favor of it, except...
So let me ask you a question. Are you thankful that you live in America?
Yeah.
That's what 100%. Makes you different than them. Thank you.
That's more than what can be said about a lot of people today, sadly, but the first step to a truly communist society actually sounds very inviting on its face, and perhaps that's why it has fascinated young and naive college students in America. Karl Marx wrote this in a catchy sentence in the mid-1800s, quote, "From each according to his ability to each according to his need. It sounds nice enough in theory until you factor in human greed and the threat of centralized power and the incompetence that we're all capable of." In the end, the communist societies of the past ended up even more unequal than anything they can accuse capitalist systems of being, with one oversized party running the entire state system while enriching and entrenching itself. Marx's slogan more or less turned into, quote, "From each according to whatever little he can get away, to each according to whatever he can grab." Have you heard of the incredible story about a Soviet minister visiting the United States? Its validity isn't verified, but I think it still greatly demonstrates what makes the economic philosophy of this country so unique. A minister from the communist Soviet Union visited the United States once, and there was one scene that struck him as very odd. There were no bread distribution lines in the country? Why was there no one standing in line waiting for food and bread like he saw back home? Upon inquiring who the minister for bread production was, supposedly managing the distribution so impeccably, he was informed that there was no such thing in America. There was no single body or person controlling each sector of the economy, and yet market forces were making sure people could buy cheap and good quality bread from the grocery shelf as demand and supply equaled out in a free market economy. The difference between that minister and the modern woke college student is that the minister had the vital contrast in comparison. He didn't take something as banal as bread production simply for granted because he understood how even that task was impossible to achieve for the centralized government back in the Soviet Union. By the way, it's not that many of these young students, activist types, even understand what they're advocating for when it comes to socialism or communism, and that became clear in another epic moment when Charlie Kirk refuted the half-baked ideas of a self-proclaimed socialist.
I don't believe in big government, right? I believe
You don't?
No government.
No government. So
no
you're an
government.
anarchist.
Yes. I believe in voluntary hierarchy and democracy.
Okay, so, wow. But let me ask you a question in all seriousness. No, here's the question. Here's a serious question though. What's preventing you from doing what the Amish do, get off the grid and just go live like that right now?
Well, the Amish are religiously excluded.
No, forget the religious component.
well,
but
because
the Amish are a great example.
Incredibly difficult to just pick up everything that you have, leave, and go into.
So you want to tell me how to live?
No, I'm not telling you how to live.
I don't even know where to start with this one. Did this guy just say voluntary hierarchies in the same sentence as socialist? How does that even make sense?
What the hell is wrong with you people?
The whole purpose of socialism is to tear down hierarchies against people's voluntary choice in order to establish a controlled equality. Just goes to show the massive disconnect that exists in the modern generation's mind about what they're even talking about. And then democracy? I suppose he's thinking of these socialist democracies like in the Nordic countries when he says socialism, and that exposes even more just how blissfully unaware he is of history. This actually seems to be a common theme with American socialists using the Nordic countries as an example of the kind of socialism they want to achieve. When Bernie Sanders once used Denmark as an example, their own prime minister had to come out and refute the idea that Denmark is a socialist country just because it has a robust welfare system. He said, and I quote, "I know that some people in the US associate the Nordic model with some sort of socialism, therefore I would like to make one thing clear. Denmark is far from a socialist planned economy. Denmark is a market economy." That's a lesson for a naive young socialist like this questioner who can't even seem to describe his own worldview without a litany of contradictions.
You're okay with me having 5 houses and 6 yachts?
I'm not okay with you having them as if you are not using them.
Oh, not you. So all of a sudden you're now telling me how to live my life. I'm never going to tell you how to live your life, my friend. Why are you telling me how to live mine?
What I'm saying is that there are people that are literally starving, and that if you had extra houses and they literally just came and occupied the houses that you are not using, they are justified because you are being a massive...
to not, so if someone forcefully takes away something that is sedentary, not being used in that purpose, it is a rightful means of theft.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you don't believe in private property rights?
No, I do not.
You don't believe in private property rights, so we're getting somewhere. So you're not a libertarian, my friend. Libertarians believe...
I'm not a libertarian in the American... I'm not a libertarian in the capitalist sense. I'm not a libertarian in the American sense.
So stop using the word, because you're anything but it.
Again, did he say libertarian socialist? I suppose he meant anarcho-socialist because you literally cannot go a single step toward a truly socialist system without trampling all over the libertarian idea of small government and individual rights. In fact, I'm a libertarian. And by the way, even if he meant an anarchist social state, it's been proven to never have worked. Every time a close approximation to it is tried in the past, you inevitably have a small party of people managing the most fundamental law and defense functions and trying to chaperone the state in the communist direction. And when that happens, you're practically back to the same idea of a political party. A one-unit government, and it very quickly ends in tyranny and authoritarian control. It's hard to expect that level of sophistication from a young college student, but perhaps the least they can do is make sure their intellectual conviction is proportionate to their level of understanding about the world.